And the more they take with them, the better off. If they take a Muslim with them, what happened? That Muslim just died for jihad. If they take a infidel with them, they got a brownie point because they just took out someone who didn't need to be here anyway. So it's a win-win situation. But the problem and the sad part about it is that they have no assurance. So if Allah's having a bad day, to hell with you anyway. But the good thing about Islam is that all Muslims get to heaven. They all serve their time and work their way up eventually to get to heaven. Now this is what their concept is. But back to the women. Let's talk about the women a minute. Why do the men get to marry 4 women? Because a woman cannot go to heaven without her husband's permission. So if you're not married, guess what happens to you? You go to hell. And the wonderful thing, though, and why they have the children, usually 4.5, I never figured out the 0.5, but the reason why they have the 0.5 or the 4 children, at least, is because every time a woman has a baby, all her sins are forgiven. So she gets to start all over again. Isn't that cool? So I had so many babies. I had twins. Hey, I would pop them out 2 at a time, you know. I get to start over again and again. And then another, let me just tell you a funny story. I don't know if this is in the Quran or the Hadith. I don't know, because every different culture, we actually do, a lot of times we'll do a fashion show called All Veils Aren't Created Equal, to show you the different looks from the different countries of the different Muslim women, because when I would go to Syria, very few, I never saw a burqa till after I came out of Islam, because we didn't wear burqas. I wore it's called the hijab. I just wore a head cover and a long dress. But the thing is that when you're in labor, anything, a woman in labor, not the man, okay, even though my husband felt like he was in labor, I think, with me. But anyway, when you're in labor, anything you ask Allah during labor, he grants it for you. Okay, so if you want a Mercedes or whatever. So this is honest to goodness a true story. It's in my book. So here I have twins, right? My twins aren't 2 minutes apart. They're not 3 minutes apart. They're not 30 minutes apart. They're an hour and 4 minutes apart. Okay, and I had natural labor. I am woman, hear me roar, okay? So here I have these twins, and my mother-in-law at the time is outside getting phone calls, having lists. Because see, remember, I'm in labor, so anything I ask Allah, you get. Okay, so here she comes running in with this organized list. Ask for Hussein a Mercedes. So I'm like, oh, in between labor pains. Oh, Allah, give Hussein a Mercedes. You know, and then just, it really is quite comical, you know. But after about 15 or 20 of those, I'm like, I ain't doing this no more. I'm about ready to kill somebody here, But anyway, so I mean, so when you really look sometimes at Islam and some of the traditions and some of the things that happen, it's actually quite comical. But anyway, I ended up converting in my wedding ceremony. But when I told Muhammad, I said, I really don't appreciate this. I feel like I've been tricked into conversion. And he said to me, did you really convert in your heart? And I said, no. But you see, the thing about Islam is that half of it is intention. So all you have to do is say that you intend to do something, and if you don't do it, it's okay because you intended to do it, so it counts. It's pretty cool, huh? So if you intend to go to Mecca, but you never go, it's okay. It still counts because you intended to go, but you didn't go. So if I intend to eat that birthday cake, I don't get any calories, right? So there's so many things that, I know a lot of you have probably studied Islam, but if you haven't lived it, you haven't been on the inside, if you haven't lived among and with the people, there's so many things you can read book after book after book. You'll never get unless you've been an insider. But because there's so many things about the religion that's so deep. And they used to tell me Islam is an easy religion. I'm like, what is easy about this? It's like every time I get one rule, you change it on me and it gets abrogated and we get to another one, you know? You know about the law of abrogation in Islam? Okay. What that means is that in the Quran, basically about a third plus of the Quran has been abrogated. That means Allah changed his mind and took it back. So it's no good. So one verse will cancel out another verse. And unless you're an Islamic scholar, believe it or not, I am. I have my doctorate in philosophy of religion. No pat on my back, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out to you. So not only have I lived it 25 years, I've studied it. But I've also been on the inside, in the inside of it. But back to the women and taking it over. They have a goal and they have an agenda. How long would it take to take over a country if you can have 4 wives and 4.5 children with each wife? Do the math. I can't. 25 years? 120,000? Let's just use that as our base number a year. It wouldn't take long to take over a country just with that one way. But there's many ways, as we've already exposed, that they're talking about. Again, why would I be so intrigued? Because Muhammad said all the right words to me. You see, every woman, I wouldn't say every, but basically us women, all have the same thing. We want to be taken care of. We want to feel secure. And he came over and he said the right words to me. I'll take care of you. I'll always come home to you. I now know what that means. I didn't understand it then. That means if even though he went out till 6 o'clock in the morning, eventually he did show back up. Don't know where he was and who he was with in between. That's another thing in Islam. They can have as many concubines as they want. What's a concubine? That's just my nice way of saying a one-night stand or 5-minute stand or however long it takes. And there was quite a few of those. So Islam for a woman. People said, how could you? With all that stuff, don't you know? I didn't know. I wanted to believe the best. And see, that's what's happening to our country now. We're wanting to believe the best because we're taught tolerance. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have to separate Islam from the people. The people we need to love, no matter how horrible they are. The religion is what is diabolical. Because anything that imposes harm on another person is wrong, no matter what the motive is. I don't care if it was Christianity or Judaism or whatever. If it's imposing harm on another person and condoned, it's wrong. I have seen hundreds of women across this world abused. I've seen acid burn victims. I've seen women who've been beat so bad. I get phone calls after phone calls after phone calls of children that are being abducted. You familiar with the Hague Treaty? Do you understand what the Hague Convention Treaty is? That's a convention, it's a treaty between our country and, say, Europe, all right? We have one with them. We have one with South America. But if it's a Muslim country and we do not have the Hague Convention Treaty with that country, that means if your child gets abducted by anybody, into a country that does not have that treaty with us, you cannot go in and get your child back. I deal with those issues all of the time. Day before yesterday, I was up from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock a.m. in the morning with a woman on the phone, hysterical, whose children just got abducted. I was in Mexico a few years ago, went back and forth across that border 9 times. Never once was I stopped. You can go in and out of Mexico. That's where most of our children are being abducted. Get in and out of that country. It takes about a total of 15 minutes to get passports and IDs changed, and the kids are gone, and you can't get them back. Muhammad and I have over 400 court pleadings. He tried to take my children out of this country. I did everything. Was before over 13 judges fighting for my children. Only by God's grace did they not get abducted. We have a problem. They have an agenda. But how are we going to win this war? We can't sit back and be silent. We have to be voices. And I've been out there now since 1998 speaking. I've been on the forefront of a lot of different things, and it's not anything, it's nothing to me, okay? It's no pats on my back. It's just that I'm so passionate because I was involved in something so horrific. And I saw so many heart-rending things that I cannot not do this, even if it costs me my life. You see, because I am an apostate. I have people who want to take my life. But you know what? I've always said that if my life or my death would do more good and create more attention to this issue, so be it. Because see, I'm a believer in Jesus, and my life is not my own anyway. What are you going to do, promote me? Because I do have an assurance. I know where I'm going. If I died right this second, I do know where I'm going. Anyway, basically I did all the right things. Went to Islamic schools. Took my children to Islamic schools. Helped start Islamic schools. Even had Quran studies in my house. Did everything a good Muslim woman was supposed to do. Yes, he does. Amen.
Following him.
That's right.
You can't just say, okay.
That's right. It never stops.
Still taking
That's right.
it all.
Amen. But what happened to me, my mother-in-law gave me a book. Now, this wasn't a book from an American Christian or someone from the Jewish faith. This was a book about Muhammad and his wives. And in this book, it talked about all of his different wives. And when I came to the part that Muhammad had married a 6-year-old at 53, it did something to my heart. I had a 6-year-old daughter at the time. And I knew if any man touched my 6-year-old daughter, no matter what age he was, probably the last thing he would do. Then I started comparing the two religions. I started comparing the life of Jesus to the life of Muhammad. And as I shared this morning, even I said to myself, even if neither one are true, if Islam is completely a false religion, and Christianity is a false religion, I would still take Christianity because it had the better deal.